The obsidian throne room stood empty, its vast crystalline walls reflecting nothing but shadows and sorrow. Empress Vexratha, supreme ruler of the draconian sovereignty, sat coiled upon her throne, a mountain of midnight scales and barely contained fury. Her golden eyes, usually sharp enough to pierce steel, were dimmed with grief. No one approached. Not her generals, who'd commanded fleets across 1,000 star systems. Not her advisors, who'd negotiated treaties with species humanity had never even discovered. Not even her own clutchmates dared enter the throne room where she'd been sitting motionless for 3 cycles. The Dragon Empress had lost her youngest hatchling to a plague that even their advanced medical technology couldn't cure. In draconian culture, grief was private, sacred, and untouchable. To approach a mourning dragon of royal blood meant risking not just death, but dishonor for 7 generations. Joseph wiped down his mop for the 3rd time, watching the cleaning solution swirl in the bucket. He was the night shift janitor aboard the Imperial station, a human who'd taken the job because it paid well and asked few questions. Most species avoided humans, thought them fragile, short-lived, and hopelessly sentimental. Joseph didn't mind. It meant he could work in peace. But tonight his route took him past the throne room. The doors stood open, unprecedented and strange. Protocol dictated he should turn back, find another corridor, pretend he'd seen nothing. Joseph had never been good at following protocol. He saw her there, the massive Empress, her wings folded tight against her body, her great horned head bowed low. The grief radiated from her like heat from a sun. It was a feeling Joseph recognized, carried in the marrow of his 2 human bones. Without thinking, without calculating the risk or considering the consequences, Joseph set down his mop. He walked through those doors with the quiet confidence of someone who had nothing left to lose and everything to give. Sienna, the station's communication officer, had been monitoring the situation from her post. When she saw the janitor's biosignature moving toward the throne room, her blood went cold. "No, no, no," she whispered, her fingers flying across the console. "Joseph, you idiot, what are you doing?" She pulled up the security feed just in time to see him step into the throne room. Sienna's heart hammered in her chest. She should alert security, should call for backup. Instead, she watched frozen as Joseph approached the grieving dragon. He didn't bow. He didn't speak. He simply walked to the base of the massive throne, looked up at the Empress for a brief moment, and then sat down on the cold floor beside her. Vexratha's head snapped toward the human with serpentine speed. Her pupils contracted to slits. Smoke curled from her nostrils. 1 claw, each talon the size of a human forearm, scraped across the obsidian throne with a sound like tearing metal. "You dare?" Her voice was a subsonic rumble that rattled Joseph's teeth. "I lost my daughter 2 years ago," Joseph said quietly, not looking at the Empress. He stared straight ahead at the far wall. "Cancer, she was 6. We tried everything, every treatment, every experimental drug Earth had. Nothing worked." The Empress's smoke stopped curling. Her claw stilled. "The worst part," Joseph continued, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands, "was how everyone avoided me afterward. Like grief was contagious. Like if they got too close, they'd catch it. Like I wanted their solutions or their platitudes." He paused. "I didn't want them to fix it. I just didn't want to be alone with it." Silence filled the throne room. Heavy, fragile silence. "Your species lives such brief lives," Vexratha said, but her voice had lost its edge. "How do you bear losing someone when you have so little time to begin with?" "We don't bear it," Joseph said simply. "We carry it. There's a difference." The Empress's great head lowered slightly. From Sienna's security feed, she could see the dragon's golden eyes fixed on the small human sitting beside her throne. A human who should have been atomized by now, but instead sat peacefully, like this was the most natural thing in the world. "What was her name?" Vexratha asked softly. "Your hatchling." "Emma, she loved dinosaurs. Thought dragons were just space dinosaurs." Joseph smiled faintly. "She would have loved meeting you. Would have asked a million questions." "Kethrixia," the Empress whispered. "My youngest." She was curious about everything. Always wandering from the nest, always asking why. Something that might have been a sob rippled through her massive frame. She wanted to see Earth, said she'd heard humans had something called ice cream that changed flavors. "They do," Joseph said. Neapolitan. 3 flavors in 1 container. My Emma's favorite. They sat together in silence after that. Human and dragon, janitor and empress. 2 parents separated by biology and culture, and a million light-years of evolution, united by the universal language of loss. Sienna watched from her console, tears streaming down her face. She'd been stationed here for 2 years and had learned 17 alien languages, but she'd never seen anything like this. The other species had their protocols, their rituals, their proper procedures for everything. But humans? Humans had something else. Something that didn't translate well into galactic standard. Didn't fit neatly into diplomatic frameworks. Humans had empathy. Raw, unfiltered, and fearless. When Joseph finally stood to leave an hour later, Vexratha's claw gently, impossibly gently, touched his shoulder. "Thank you," she said, "for sitting with me, for not trying to fix what cannot be fixed." Joseph nodded. "Anytime you need someone to carry it with you, I'll be around. Usually on the night shift." As he walked out, Sienna met him in the corridor, her eyes still wet. "You could have died," she said. "Yeah," Joseph agreed, picking up his mop. But she needed someone who understood that some things are worse than dying. The next morning, the Draconian fleet lifted the blockade that had paralyzed 3 sectors. The Empress emerged from her grief not healed, never healed, but no longer alone. And in the records of the Imperial Station, a note was added to Joseph's file. Promoted to Diplomatic Auxiliary. Clearance level unlimited. Reason: demonstrated exceptional understanding of universal emotional protocols. Sienna smiled when she read it. Leave it to humans to turn janitorial work into diplomacy. That was their superpower. After all, not strength or speed or advanced technology, just the simple, radical act of sitting beside someone in their darkest hour and saying, without words, "I see you, and you are not alone."